Hello, welcome to Tobisonics. It is Tuesday, the 23rd of February, 2021. I hope you all had good weekends and you managed to get some time off and relax. In this week's episode, we're going to be taking a look at a new vocal effects plugin from Waves, the Vocal Bender. Manipulate your vocals in real time for the most popular sounds in hip-hop, pop, R&B, and electronic genres. That is how Waves describes the Vocal Bender on their website. With zero latency and two simple pitch and format controls, you can easily track, mix, and perform hit-sounding vocals instantly. We're doing this demo because I'm thinking about buying the Waves Vocal Bender. But before I do, there are two questions that I want answered. First, how does it compare in terms of pitch and format manipulation to Soundtoys Little Alterboy? And secondly, how does it compare to the Waves OVox? Those of you who have seen my channel before will know that I don't like to use practice loops or practice multi-tracks. I like things to be more tangible than that. So for this week's demo, we're going to be using the chorus vocals from my debut release, All These Things. And before we get into it, if I could just ask you to take a moment to like the video and subscribe to my channel, you'd be doing me a huge favor. Thank you for taking the time.
All these things I remember. All these things I remember.
Let's start off by comparing Little Alterboy with the Vocal Bender in terms of how it works pitch and formant. Here we go with the chorus vocal, and I've set up a simple pitch and format effect in Little Alterboy. We're going 5 semitones down on the pitch and 5 semitones up on the formant. Alrighty then, so let's take Little Alterboy and we'll put it in bypass, and we're going to take the Vocal Bender and we'll take it out of bypass. And you can see that we've done exactly the same thing with the pitch. We've got it set there at -5 semitones, and for the formant, we've got it set at +5 semitones. Let's drop it onto the vocal track and see if we can hear a difference.
All these things I remember. All these things I remember.
Honestly, what I was expecting to hear was that the Vocal Bender would be a little smoother, a little bit more pop, and I am hearing some of that, but what's really catching my ear is the phase consistency. The Vocal Bender is straight down the middle, whereas Little Alterboy tends to float a little bit in the sides with the phase. Maybe it's because it's on a VST platform. Let me know in the comments below if this is a problem you have. The phase consistency of the Vocal Bender is much, much, much better. Staying with Little Alterboy, let's do a side-by-side comparison of the robot voice. So here we go. We've got Little Alterboy in robot mode, and we've got the pitch set all the way down at -12, and the formant is set all the way up at +12. Let's put Little Alterboy into bypass, and let's drop the Vocal Bender out of bypass, and you can see once again, pitch -12, formant +12, and we switched on the flatten option, which is how we get the robot voice from the Vocal Bender. So once again, we've got that difference in phase consistency that we've already talked about. But moving on to the robot effects specifically, for me, the difference is that the Little Alterboy's got a little bit more bite to it. It's a little bit more kind of gravelly, and there's a little bit of kind of grit and maybe even a slightly lo-fi quality to it. Whereas the Vocal Bender is a little bit more kind of squeaky and more synthetic sounding and more kind of plasticky. Now, which of those you're going to prefer is probably going to depend on the type of music you're making. Given that this particular track was a kind of out pop, electro pop kind of production, I think I would go for the Vocal Bender on this. Having said that, if I was doing something that was a little bit more alternative, I'd be tempted to be using Little Alterboy. With the Waves Vocal Bender, we also have the additional option of being able to tune the flatten effect to a particular note. At the moment, we've got it tuned to C3 because that's what Little Alterboy was tuned to, so it made it easier to compare the two. But the key of this track is E minor. I've dropped in the bass line so that you can hear the Vocal Bender effect against the E minor bass. All right, then let's switch out the C3 for an E3 and see how that sounds against the bass line. That is sitting much nicer against the bass line, particularly at the beginning of the bass pattern where it really seems to kind of harmonize with it and sit tight with it. I like that a lot. That is a very good option to have. All right, let's compare the vocal bender to Waves OVox. What I've done here is I've called up a preset in the vocal bender, and then I've tried to match it as close as I can with the OVox. And what you're listening to right now is my attempt to match it in the OVox. To be perfectly honest, it took quite a lot of time, and I didn't get that close. Let's put the OVox into bypass, and let's take the vocal bender out of bypass. Let's have a listen to that original preset on the vocal bender and see how the two compare.
All these things I remember. All these things I remember.
So yeah, I could have cut that out. I could have been all sort of Mr. YouTube producer and pretended that everything I do is perfect. But let's face it, that's not the reality of production. It doesn't always work out. You can hear that they're shifting about the same way. It's a similar type of effect, but I was really struggling to find that particular electronic tone. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, hey, I could have nailed that, then please make a video of it, put it up on YouTube, and drop a link in the comments below. I'd love to see how you did it. I'm always looking to learn. Let's start by answering the first question. How does Waves Vocal Bender compare to Soundtoys Little Alterboy when it comes to pitch and format manipulation? Well, straight off the bat, we've got to talk about phase. You are getting much, much better phase consistency from the Vocal Bender. In terms of tone and texture, it's a little bit more of a mixed bag. I think if you want a very kind of pop, kind of EDM, electronic kind of sound, then I think I would be going for the Vocal Bender. If you're looking for something that's a little bit more gritty, a little bit more rock and roll, it's got a little bit more dirt on it, or a little bit more lo-fi on it, then I think Little Alterboy is giving you an interesting flavor for those types of productions. The optional extra of being able to tune the robo pitch, the flattened pitch on the Waves Vocal Bender is really useful. Is it worth buying even though I have Little Alterboy? Yes, absolutely. Moving on to our second question, how does the Vocal Bender compare to the OVox? Well, somewhere in there, in the OVox, you can probably find the exact same effect as we had on the Vocal Bender. The Vocal Bender is so much simpler, so much more intuitive to dial in, so much quicker that really for a lot of vocal effects, it's just going to be so much more practical when you're working on productions. So would I buy the Vocal Bender even though I have the OVox? Yeah, I would. And then I've still got the OVox if I want to go in and go much deeper with the effects. So the big question, am I going to buy the Vocal Bender? Yes, absolutely. I'm convinced. Really like it. I love the tone I'm getting from it. I love the phase consistency. It's quick, it's intuitive, simple, easy to use. And I think Waves have nailed that contemporary pop electronic tone, slightly synthetic, slightly plasticky, but it's right there. Very impressed. And right now it's available at a special intro price. My advice, go demo it, go see how it works for you in your productions. If you enjoyed this week's episode, please like, subscribe, comment, you know the drill. My debut solo production, All These Things, is out and available on all streaming platforms. Please have a listen to the vocal effects. If you have any questions about the production, ask me in the comments below, or you can find me via social media at Tobisonics. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next Tuesday, good night and good noise, and stay safe and stay healthy.
Catch the moment.